With all the LiDAR sensors on the market today, it can get really confusing on what sensors to use for your engineering project. Luckily today we have Pape Dawson in the studio, who is a leader in engineering and LiDAR services. And they are going to share their insight on which LiDAR systems they use and for what applications. So stick around to the very end, because then they're going to show us their data sets and how they're being used in the public today.
So Angela, tell us a little bit about what Pape Dawson Engineers does and what you do.
Yeah, Pape Dawson has been around for over 50 years doing civil engineering for residential, commercial, transportation. We have a water resources group, all things civil engineering we do. Our geospatial department is part of our land surveying department, so we support all of our offices. We have offices in Dallas and Fort Worth, Houston, Corpus Christi, New Braunfels, San Antonio, and Austin, and now we are in Florida as well. So we're really growing and expanding, and our survey group, our geospatial department is based here in Austin, and we support all of our offices statewide.
Amazing. So with all of that work, what urged Pape Dawson to get into LiDAR and integrate that into their workflow?
Yeah, so I've been with the company about 10 years, and before I came here, I was a certified photogrammetrist and LiDAR scientist with some other firms, and I was also a GIS professional. So I actually came on board to Pape Dawson doing a lot of GIS analysis work, and we were seeing how much growth was happening, with our land development projects, and how much time it was taking for our surveyors to collect topographic data, on the ground. And so my past experience with LiDAR and manned aerial systems kind of came into play, and the drones started to become more popular about that time. So we really looked into a kind of an entry-level LiDAR system, made the investment, did a lot of research, a lot of trial and error, and we've built the department over the last 5 or 6 years to what it is today, where we have multiple UAVs. We have 6 different LiDAR scanners. It's really blown up over the last few years. So what we've found is with the LiDAR systems that we've integrated, we're able to save a ton of time and money on our land development projects. We can have that much quicker turnaround to get our engineers the data they need to start doing their plans.
So Angela, tell us which LiDAR systems you use.
So currently in our rotation, so we do have 2 terrestrial LiDAR scanners. As far as Phoenix LiDAR goes, we have a Recon XT. We have a Ranger Vux 1 Lite and the Ranger Ultra Vux 120. And we just acquired that this year.
Wow. And so, as clients go, I mean, you've been doing this for a while and have really kind of been able to scale up. So with that, can you share with the audience, like, how many different, I guess, transportation modalities you use? You mentioned drones, but you don't use just drones with these LiDAR systems.
Correct. Our Ranger Vux Lite is also utilized on a vehicle, so we can do mobile LiDAR mapping with that as well. And then with our Ranger Ultra, we have the helicopter mount with that, so we can do more wide area or long corridor mapping using a helicopter instead of a drone. We were finding our projects were getting bigger and longer, and drone laws, keeping line of sight kind of came prohibitive. And it's not that much more expensive, if at all, to use a helicopter instead of a drone. And the data is just as good if you fly at the right altitude. So yeah, we're really seeing a really equal quality of data from a helicopter as we do from a drone.
So Angela, I'm interested to learn, how do you choose which specific LiDAR system to use for a particular job?
Yeah, a lot of things kind of come into play with that. I think our biggest factor would be the vegetation, what kind of land cover it is. Here in Central Texas, we don't have to worry about tree cover so much. It's really grass and really thick matted grass and weeds. So if it's a really vegetated site, we'll choose to use the Regal systems because they have better penetration, more point density, and we can, plan our flights in order to make up for that vegetation penetration by doing cross flying, or maybe fly a little lower. We'll plan that ahead of time. And we'll choose the recon system because it's much smaller and much lighter. That's mounted to a DJI M300. That is really nice for smaller sites, anything under a couple hundred acres. If it's open land, not a lot of vegetation. It's, again, because it's so light and easy to use, it's easier to deploy, less distraction to the public. So really the platform that we put the scanner on comes into play as well. What's going to be less intrusive for folks. So it really just kind of depends. Our recon system is in our San Antonio office. The Regal systems are in Austin. So, just we ship things and we drive all over the state. So, we make it work. But it just really kind of depends on the site itself and what's going to get us the data that's needed, and the accuracy that's needed for the engineers.
And Angela, when would you choose to use aerial LiDAR as opposed to a drone-based system?
We've been kind of choosing that based on, again, land cover type and size. So anything over 1,000 acres, we will do with a helicopter. It's just much more time effective and efficient that way. And also budget. We don't have to worry about line of sight with a drone getting up and moving several times during the mission to keep that line of sight. If there's a lot of tree cover, if we're flying an urban area, then a helicopter may be a much better option because we don't have to worry about the public so much and safety concerns there. Really just size. And again, corridors with a drone, anything over a mile or two kind of turns into it just doesn't make sense to do it with a drone. So, it's really all site dependent, and we like having that variety of scanners and platforms that we can choose the best tool for the job.
Right on. And then have you, used, like, let's say your Recon XT to fill in gaps? Let's say you had a holiday or a shadowing. Do you go back and fill in that way, or how do you deal with those kinds of things?
Yeah, sometimes we do that, especially with a mobile LiDAR setup. If we're driving a roadway and they want more data outside of the right-of-way that we can get with our mobile scanner, we'll choose to also fly it with a drone, either the Recon or maybe an Ultra, or maybe the Vux. It just depends on how the length of the roadway. But we'll choose to fly over the right-of-way and calibrate those two data sets together to make one. So that works out really well, helps eliminate that shadowing, make sure that we have the data coverage that we need.
Excellent. And how hard is that?
I mean, it's as long as you have good control, you want to control it for your most accurate purpose, which would be on a roadway, would be, the road itself. So you want to make sure you got the proper control there. But we're really seeing the accuracy between the systems is really comparable. We're not having to do a whole lot of shifting and manipulating to get those data sets to match. It's all in your standards and your quality of processing, which we have, and that makes it a lot easier to merge data sets together.
Well, you mentioned data there, Angela. I was wondering, could you share some data with us and talk us through what we're going to be looking at?
Yeah, so we recently used the Ranger Ultra Bucks 120 on a wastewater treatment plant expansion project. We chose to do this instead of terrestrial just strictly due to budget concerns. Using a terrestrial scanner and having 30 different setups was going to cost a lot, and so we could get a bigger view. The project size went outside of the plant as well, as they wanted to see the drainage and where they were going to build the next treatment facility that ties into it. So we flew this. We flew this with the 120, like I said, a couple of different altitudes. We cross-flew it, and we chose the 120 because of the three angles that it scans, so we can get really detailed information on vertical structures. And what I'm showing here, of course, is the line work that we extracted, but we were able to get almost all of the piping and headworks and stuff from the air. So This is
Well,
the
let me
headworks.
explain here for the folks that may not be
Hmm.
familiar with the Ranger Ultra, but that system, even though it's a continuous wave radar or LiDAR, excuse me, will shoot a beam forward, shoot a beam straight down, and shoot a beam backwards. And
Correct.
that allows us to catch facade in addition to that direct beam underneath that allows us to have solid survey points.
Hmm.
So sorry to jump in there, but I just want to make sure everybody understood that why you picked that sensor.
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly why. We wanted as much detail as possible at all of the structures. So our client wanted us to map all of the weirs, every, just the center line of the pipes, not necessarily the sizes, all the light fixtures, the
Yeah.
railings,
Well,
the
in clear, you
outfalls.
can see like the pipe. So this is why you use that sensor because it's
Hmm.
able to get the facades of all these pipes that would normally hide.
Yeah,
Correct.
absolutely. Yeah, the detail's pretty phenomenal, isn't it?
Yeah, like I said, it's not, a one-to-one with a terrestrial scanner, but we got pretty close, and again, we saved all that time and money.
What? Sure. And how long did it take you to do this site?
The flying part, of course, is the easiest, like
Of
maybe
course.
30 minutes to fly it. And I'm not sure on the feature extraction. We had a lot of back and forth with the
Mm-hmm.
client, but, probably a week or two to do all the line work. We used a lot of our
Mm-hmm.
macros and tools we've developed in-house to kind of streamline this stuff. But, it
Right.
really, the turnaround time was pretty quick.
And ballpark, and I know it's not an actual, but if you were to use terrestrial, how many points do you think you would need, and how long do you think it would take you to do a full capture of this site?
I think it would take a full day of capture. Like I said, probably 30 setups. It depends on the
Right.
scanner and the how far in here we needed to get, and would probably double the time um, for the feature extraction part. Um,
Right.
Mhm. And obviously, time equals money. So, from a monetary point of view, how much do you think that this has potentially saved you?
I think we saved probably 50% of the cost comparable to a
Wow.
terrestrial scanner. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Well, one of the things I wanted to dive in with you, Angela, was you had briefly talked about the field and then you went into the back office post processing.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we have spoke about this before when we did the pre-interview, but could you kind of paint a picture for our viewers here on what's the data processing workflow for something like this kind of project,
Mm-hmm.
and why is it important to be standardized in your workflows?
Yeah, so we, as we grow, we have new folks on board who, may not be as experienced as some of our other staff. So making it as standardized as possible so we can share the workload across our folks is really, really beneficial for us. We like to have our acquisition team also do the processing so that they realize, what you do in the field affects everything downstream and how important that is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for our workflow for our typical project, we fly it, we come back, we copy the data up, we run it through Phoenix's Spatial Explorer and Inertial Explorer for the navigation processing part of it, the GPS.
Right.
So we do all that. We've got preset settings that we use that are typical. Sometimes you'll have a weird error or project, here and there, and then we'll have our more experienced people come in and take a look at it and try to see what's going on, where you have bad PDOP or something with satellites that day, where you
Right.
got to do some tweaking, to get the quality of the solution that you need. And we take that into Spatial Explorer and we fuse the point cloud in with the navigation data. And then from there, we strictly work in TerraSolid and MicroStation. So we have TerraScan, TerraMatch. We do our
Mm-hmm.
calibration through TerraMatch. So we match flight line to flight line and then to our ground control. And then we start running our macros that we've developed that are, again, pretty standardized for our ground cleaning, our vegetation classification, hard surfaces, things like that. And then, we have our staff start doing the feature extraction. Some folks will concentrate on the topo portion where we're brake lining and adding detail to those important areas from, we don't use all the points. It's so many millions of points. We can't use them all.
Right.
So we'll thin it out a little bit and then find, the areas where we may need to add more points to capture what the terrain is doing. So, we'll add that detail in, we'll do the brake lines, create the surface model, and then we have folks also doing the feature extraction either from the LiDAR or from the aerial photos that we capture at the same time. So we'll create an ortho photo. Sometimes we'll colorize the point cloud to help us with that extraction. And it's like I said, we do all our work, CAD work in MicroStation, but our engineers use AutoCAD Civil 3D. So we convert all of our deliverables into AutoCAD for them. And then we're done and on to the next one.
Well, and I think it's safe to say, going through that process, that if you don't have the data right in the first place, the right capture, that whole process goes away and those accuracy standards and benefits go away.
Yeah, and so does, our typical turnaround time is, depending on our workload, can be a week to 2 weeks. And if, you don't get something right in the beginning, that can double pretty easily. So, and, sometimes you always want to avoid going back in the field if possible. So, sometimes that does happen, but luckily we tend to avoid that as much as possible.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, Angela, Phoenix is celebrating a rather big milestone this year. It's their 10th anniversary. And I was just wondering if you'd like to share a message with them.
No, I just want to thank them for the awesome support they've given us. We are in Austin as well, so it's very nice that they're pretty much just down the street from us. But they've been super easy to work with. Sensors are great. We've not had any issues hardware-wise with anything, and they're open to different ideas. And I just want to tell them I appreciate it. I'm happy to have this partnership with you guys and working with you, and keeping the support up. We seem like we support each other, and we really appreciate that. So.
Yeah, I love to hear that. And you mentioned that they're open to ideas. Can you give us an example of a time that maybe you've pitched them something or giving them some feedback and they've acted upon that?
Yeah, I think there's been some hardware improvements that we've asked for, where maybe a bolt or something on an antenna, maybe this could be mounted a different way, and they've listened to us and come up with solutions for that. So. And then on the software side, Spatial Explorer, we've asked, I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but just really ease of use kind of things. Can I have a button that does this, or can I export? Export's a big thing, because being able to export all of this data, your trajectories, into different software kind of opens up a lot of different workflows for you in case you have a one-off, something that you need to develop, that you're trying to research and look into something new. It helps to be able to export that raw data into the formats that you need. So they've been very helpful with that kind of stuff.
Amazing. So I know you guys are growing really, really fast, and there's going to be people that are looking at what you're doing right now and going, wow. So for those folks that see this and say, yeah, I really want to do business with Angela, how do they do that? What's the best way for them to contact you and do business with you? Yeah,
the easiest way would be to email me, alivingston@pape-dawson.com, and go to our website, pape-dawson.com as well. There's an email address on there where you can reach out to us. Happy to give my thoughts on, project collection or sensors. If anybody wants, my opinion on what works best and what doesn't, I'm happy to help. We've been there. We've done the hard part, through the years, as many others have, to where, when we started in this business, it was not as streamlined as it is now. And so we've a lot of trial and error. So I'm happy to share my experiences with anybody who wants to listen.
Great. I'll make sure that, we'll put that in the comments down below. So anybody wants to look at that, they can go contact you.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Thank you, Angela.
All right. Take care.
Angela, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us. And I know this is going to help a lot of people. So thank you for taking the time today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.